off in downtown Fort Wayne, as they should be, because again, this tornado warning goes into effect for another 6 minutes, although it likely won't get quite to the city, to downtown in that time period. Let's take one more look at the track of this storm, and actually some good news here. The tornado warning now has been trimmed. Before, you'll remember, it did include up into the city of Fort Wayne, actually into the northern part of the city. Now we're just looking at southern Allen County. That includes the airport and areas to the east. So that includes State Road 27 there. That would includes areas like Poe. Also into the north on State Road 1 near the airport. The city of Waynedale also would be included there in this tornado warning that now has been trimmed. So if you're in the city of Fort Wayne, it's worth noting the tornado warning is no longer in effect for you. This tornado, though, this storm is still moving to the east at 55 miles per hour. The National Weather Service has continued the tornado warning, actually, my mistake, until 7:45. So this goes into effect for another 20 minutes. And let's take a look, again, a little bit closer. So areas like Waynedale, Yoder, also into areas like Poe to the north of that, also into Hessen Castle there by the airport. And really knocking on the doorstep, though, of places like Timbercrest and Forest Ridge. So as I mentioned, we're going to put a track on this for you again to show you areas that will be impacted by this storm in the next few minutes as it progresses to the east at 55 miles per hour. And Matthew, if you want to kind of highlight those locations.
Yeah, so areas right now, Zanesville, 725. So this is immediately getting to your safe shelter right now because the storm is immediately coming to your area. Next place, Williams, 744. You got about 20 minutes. Now is the time to get into your safe shelter. 752, you have Monroeville. This is your time. Again, you got 30 minutes to get to your safe spot, have a plan, get your bike helmets, have your family huddled together in the most centralized location, and preferably on the lower floor of your home. If you live in a manufactured home, again, you want to get out of there and seek a different shelter that's much safer. Other locations you got to keep an eye on would be Van Wert. I saw that was about, what, 8:14, I believe?
Yeah, so again, the tornado warning doesn't go into effect that long, but that's where these storms are headed. And as we had mentioned earlier when we cut in at 6:30, that with the nature of the storms tonight, it's very possible that we get these very quick spin-ups along the line that could cause a brief tornado or two. And speaking of that, let's also go ahead and take a look at this velocity. Also, we do have a new report from Roanoke where the fire chief there, again, this is a preliminary report, so you want to take that with a grain of salt there. The fire chief has a third-party report of a funnel cloud that's picking up debris on the west side of Roanoke town. They're actually headed out there right now to check for some damage. And also, if we have a funnel cloud and there's damage reported, that's a tornado. So if you see a funnel and there is debris on the ground, that is a tornado. So we have some preliminary indications there could very well be a tornado, or at least there was at one time. So with the nature of these storms, again, they're very brief. They typically spin up very quickly and then dissipate. Let's go ahead and take a look at correlation coefficient. And yeah, Matthew, we're right on the edge of this storm, so it's having a difficult time picking it up, but possibly we could have a debris signature right in this area, but very, very messy.
Right where you're at. I think that's a pretty decent indicator, but again, it's kind of tough to see. But earlier we saw a definite indication of rotation with the velocity. Now it's still kind of hard to see.
Yeah, it's looking much more broad at this time.
But I mean, again, you can probably see a little bit of rotation somewhere around here, what I can notice east of Roanoke for us.
Yeah. So that's southwestern Allen County, north of Zanesville. So that's right over basically the intersection of Lafayette Center Road and Lower Huntington Road, right by the airport. So this is approaching the airport quickly. Of course, the airport is on Ferguson Road near Bluffton Road, Airport Expressway there. So that's where this storm is headed. So if you have anyone that's at the airport, you'll want them to know they need to take shelter immediately, as this storm is practically right on top of them. Radar is typically delayed a little bit, and when we get these scans in, they're typically a few minutes behind of where the storm actually is. But yeah, as Matthew mentioned, it's a very broad signature. You see a very long stretch of these greens followed by some of these pinks. We typically look for a very tight, centralized area of rotation. This is very, very broad, and there's a new scan. This looking even more broad to me, Matthew. If anything now, I think the main concern would be these straight line winds.
Yeah, and can you show me just the velocity winds, what we're seeing?
Let's switch over to that product there, and wow, look at that.
That's very bright.
Yeah, so look at that.
75. We get 75-mile-an-hour winds. That's very strong winds that can knock down trees, that can fall on power lines. So we could see possible power outages from these damaging winds. So again, even though if a tornado would or would not touch down, you still have to take shelter because of the damaging winds. 77 miles an hour. Very gusty winds, almost gusty as that one time back in, what was it, May?
Yeah, Matthew, let's take a quick look, actually. We have a look live outside the building. This is our news director, Jonathan Shelley, taking a look at that. That is it looks to me to be a shelf cloud that's about to move in, which typically looks a little scary looking, but is not necessarily indicative of any rotation or anything overly concerning in that regard. But maybe a little bit of spin in those clouds there, which again is been the story this evening, as we've seen just these very isolated spin-ups over there. Anything catch your attention, Matthew?
Well, definitely. Anytime you see a shelf cloud, you can also associate with very strong winds behind it. You can definitely see a nice little arch, so we can see a nice little gust front. I mean, if Jonathan can already see this soon, it's coming to our direction. Yeah. We could probably hear it soon.
There he's headed inside there, because you can see the rain is following the shelf cloud there. And a good reminder, we do still have a severe thunderstorm warning in effect for Allen County. In fact, for most of our counties, there is a severe thunderstorm warning in effect that due to these strong straight line winds. And look at the radar, just how bright those colors are. It's really indicative of those strong straight line winds. And I would guess here at the station, we're going to be hearing those winds or feeling them pretty quickly.
I can already hear it.
There's a look at our tower cam. You can already see it shaking there with some of those droplets of the rainfall. And the wind's about to pick up here.
Yeah, and even if you saw a tornado touch down, it would be so tough to see with it being rain wrapped.
I believe this is looking off to the west. Which camera is this, Kelly? So this is from Science Central, looking off to the west. Kelly's our director who's helping us out this evening here. And you can see that shelf cloud there behind that, again, is typically the leading edge that's actually caused by those winds rushing out ahead of the thunderstorm. They pick up some of that moist, warm air. As the warm air rises, it condenses, forming that cloud that, again, looks scary but doesn't necessarily indicate a tornado, but as Matthew mentioned, is really indicative of some pretty strong winds.
And also, we had the perfect conditions for severe weather today. And earlier today, we had clear skies, which allowed us to heat up with the moisture. So now we're starting to see those thunderstorms. They had the ingredients to keep being self-sufficient and still keep that strength, which I'm pretty shocked, because I thought it was going to show a little bit of weakening, but it's been strong for the past 4 hours for us.
Yeah, and we are getting a lot of damage reports coming in too, primarily from Huntington and Whitley counties, which is, again, these storms where we've been getting the tornado warnings from. And there, look at that. You can actually see, this is looking off to the northwest, I believe, northeast, actually. So this storm's coming in behind us there. And you can see the clearing off in the distance.
Do you see a little bit of scud clouds a little bit towards our north?
Yeah, so that's a good point there, Matthew. So sometimes we'll see these lower hanging clouds. We call them scud. And we typically will get photos of them with many people often thinking they are funnel clouds. But really, they're just some scary looking lower hanging clouds that form, again, in a similar manner to shelf clouds. It's just when we have this much moisture today, we've had dew points in the 70s. We get a lot of these lower hanging clouds. We also have had a report of one of our ABC21 storm spotters to the south of Kendallville, where we've had reports of winds that have took a trampoline and outdoor furniture. So we are watching that there. And again, that's just another reminder that even these locations where we don't have the tornado warnings in effect, we're still getting damaging winds or straight line winds that's causing a bit of wind damage. So another reminder there, Matthew.
You know what? Another thing I want to show is the lightning data. I mean, this storm is producing plenty of cloud to ground lightning. I mean, look at that. I mean, how many strikes have we seen? Can you show me what?
Yeah, we'll go ahead and query that to take a look at how many lightning strikes we have. There you go. Close to 200.
Wow. That's a lot of light. I can already hear the wind blowing the rain against the station. But heavy rain along with cloud to ground lightning, so that's another threat besides, isolates, quick spin ups, damaging winds, but also lightning is another indicator of what we're seeing.
And these storms have also really maintained their strength. We've seen that same amount of lightning over the past hour or two, if not more than that. And let's take again one more look at this tornado warning, again, that is now moving through southern Allen County. The area of rotation there is approaching the airport. And just had another report also of a 69 mile per hour wind gust at I-69 and the Airport Expressway exit. That is very close to where this area of rotation is at. So it's good to know we have some storm spotters in the area. It doesn't sound like they're seeing necessarily a tornado at this time, but as we've been stressing, really, these straight line winds are something that's also a concern and that is continuing to cause damage, as we've seen throughout Huntington and Whitley counties. Now we're also seeing it in Noble County. We have that ABC21 storm spotter report in Kendallville that's continuing to see that. Matthew?
And one thing I want to show is just, can you go back to reflectivity one more time? I'm sorry.
Yeah, the velocity?
Yeah, the velocity. So again, with the high reflectivity, you definitely see some very strong winds, and a Boyd, Roanoke, it's coming your way to Austin, 78-mile-an-hour winds, so close to 80, very strong, damaging winds that can also knock down trees, even shingles off your roof. So again, if you didn't secure your outdoor furniture on your patio, they could be blown away in your backyard. Hopefully you have a fence. But again, damaging winds, what we're seeing, they can knock down power lines, could happen if trees were supposed to have fallen down. So even though you're safe from the storm, can we zoom out just a little bit and have the warning polygons show? Yep. Yeah, so even if you're not even in the warning section, so areas like Paulding, Defiance, Van Wert, this is your time to plan. You know, we have damaging winds, even potential quick spin up of tornadoes. So this is your time. You know, gather your things, make sure you charge your electronic devices, your phones, just in case if there's any potential power outages or even potential damaging winds that can produce damage.
Yeah, and we are also continuing to get more of those damage reports coming in. We also have a new one from Cherubusco. That's at 550 north between Blue Lake Road and US 33. Some power poles and power lines that are down. And that's been, again, a consistent story. We're seeing trees down. We're seeing power lines down, which is, again, kind of what we were expecting this evening when we get these straight-line wind events that can typically cause those power lines, outages, those trees down also as well. We also have anchor Brian McElhatton standing by. Brian, what are you seeing? Anything in particular of note that we haven't been mentioning?
Not right now. I was outside and I stepped in, and I can tell you here in Fort Wayne on the northwest side of the city, boy, those winds are so strong. The rain is really coming down now. And the clouds were a bit scary looking as they sort of moved over our broadcast tower. Yeah. We saw the northeast view from our camera on top of the tower.
Yeah, it was the northeast.
But we heard the tornado sirens sounding throughout the city. So remember, those aren't designed for you to hear indoors. They're designed for you to hear outdoors. So if you do have a cell phone, not everyone does, keep an eye out on those alerts. Yeah. But I do want to take a shot from our live camera outside the building. This is our parking lot camera right now, and you can see just how dark those skies are. Normally be still fairly light at this hour, but it looks like nighttime, Gabe.
It does. We also had meteorologist Nick Maruziak just sent me a text there that he's seeing some power flashes on the northeast side of town, which again continues to be that theme that even though you're not in that tornado warning, we're still seeing consistent signs of damage, whether that be from those straight line winds, whether it be tree damage or power lines down. And that's what we've continued to see. Let's go on to take another look here at storm track radar, and again monitoring those areas of rotation. And where this warning is in place, we are really seeing that start to weaken and fizzle out as it looks like some of those green colors, which are the inflow, that's the air moving into the storm. Typically that will get cut off by some of the rain that's coming in, and that's exactly what we're seeing on radar, which is a great sign in terms of weakening and from damage. Also, continuing to get some of those reports in Huntington County now. We have a new report at the intersection of 900 North and 300 East. Some house damage. Also, an empty silo that was knocked down on 1100 North at 2126 East. So lots of those damage reports coming in from Huntington County, and that's where this storm moved from. So a lot of these brighter colors that were in place into northern Huntington County have now moved into northern Wells County, also in through much of Allen County. Actually, Nick Maruziak that mentioned he was on the northeast side, that's where those bright colors are that are indicating those winds close to around 70 miles per hour or greater. And we can see that they're causing some of those power outages and so forth. Also, again, if you're into northern Wells County, places like Ossian, Markle, Zanesville, also into places like Kingsland, which is the intersection of State Road 1 and State Road 224, you're also likely seeing some very strong winds, Matthew.
And another thing, can you go back to velocity?
Velocity
Velocity one more time. Another good sign I've seen, besides the strong winds, is that I don't really see a strong indicator of rotation.
Yeah.
I don't really see any of the greens. I just see bright reflectivity that indicates strong winds. So I think that's a good sign. What are you noticing?
Yeah, really along this entire line of storms, as we just move from the north and moving down to the south, we're primarily seeing those red colors. So that indicates, of course, some of those brighter colors. Also, our own Kayla Stewart is also texting me there, some very intense wind in North Fort Wayne. So lots of those in Allen County are seeing those strong straight line winds as this storm is moving through. And that continues to be the main threat this evening, are those strong straight line winds that can produce damage similar to a tornado. We also have a new report now from Allen County that is an I-69 eastbound between Indianapolis Road and State Road 1. So that's that area we were just pointing out close to the airport, the State Road 1 and 469 eastbound. So that would be to the east State Road 1 there, of a semi-truck that has been overturned. So these very strong winds are also not kind to high-profile vehicles. That's why we tell you typically to get indoors to a sturdy structure if at all possible. Now, we still do have 5 more minutes left on this tornado warning that continues to be in effect for, again, that's for southern Allen County. And that really seems like that started to weaken, Matthew.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. I mean,
really nothing left there.
I don't really see any indicator of rotation. We're just seeing strong winds, which is good. But again, we still have damaging winds to keep focusing on. Another threat I want to talk about, how's the hail?
Yeah, let's take a look at the hail track.
Today.
And perhaps that's back when the storm moved through Whitley County, getting a little bit of hail there. But let's see what the radar estimated there. You can see close to around an inch or so. Yeah, so that would be quarter size. But of course, the radar typically overestimates these hail sizes. So it's very likely. We did get a few reports, Matthew, actually, of some pea-sized hail. So that, of course, is not severe. But some hail nonetheless, and it's an indication of how strong some of these storms are, as in we can get these strong updrafts that, well, is basically wind moving very quickly up. A lot of the times that comes right back down and hits the surface. Let's time out this whole line of storms for you once again that's moving at around 55 miles per hour to the east. So we're getting now into the eastern parts of the viewing area. So stay with us here. Within an hour or so, this will all be over and it will be well on its way out. So here's a look at the timing for this system. So the city of Decatur, very close to you, and within just 7 minutes is when the line of storms will be knocking at your doorstep. Into Portland at 7:53 p.m. Then we're talking places into northwest Ohio. That's Defiance County at 8:15, 8:24 in St. Mary's. It's just out of the viewing area to the east of Mercer County there. As this line really continues to maintain its strength, Matthew, and there's still plenty of lightning there.
Yeah, and that's all thanks to what the conditions we saw today. We saw plenty of clear skies, and that allowed all that heat to move in, and also moisture. We saw highs around the mid to upper 80s for us. So we had the heat, and then along with the moisture, we had dew points in the 70s. We get those two ingredients. This storm has enough ingredients to just being self-sustained and not weaken, which I was shocked because earlier today I was like, this storm is still keeping its strength, but I thought it was going to weaken a little bit, but it is keeping its strength. Plenty of cloud-to-ground lightning, damaging winds, and also quick spin-ups.
Yeah, I do want to mention now the tornado warning has been allowed to expire for Allen, Huntington, and Whitley counties. So that means we no longer have any active tornado warnings in effect for anyone in the viewing area. There is still the severe thunderstorm warning. That includes northern Wells County, northern Adams County. So those are the cities of Decatur and Ossian. All of Allen County is included. So that's Fort Wayne, New Haven, Monroeville. Also to the north in places like Grable and Harlan. Further to the north, all of DeKalb County is included. That includes the city of Auburn. And the eastern part of Noble County, that's Kendallville, is included in this severe thunderstorm warning. Again, the tornado warning has been allowed to expire. As we continue to move through the rest of the evening and this line of storms progresses eastward, it's very likely we will continue to see some very strong winds, and it's possible we could see another few quick spin-ups and tornadoes. So it's not a time to let your guard down if you are in northwest Ohio this evening especially, or if you are in any of our eastern Indiana counties. You'll want to keep, again, that weather app handy. Keep your phone handy. Make sure you have those wireless emergency alerts on. If you have a weather radio, make sure that's good to go. Keep it tuned to us here on ABC 21. and have a way to receive those warnings. And as Brian mentioned, do not rely on a tornado siren to get your alerts. They are only meant to be heard if you are outside.